I have the most bomb-proof case and I still break it.
See, that's my point.
No, if I didn't have it, it would break every day. Brr. We live? Hello, hello, hello. We're going to be live doing some Q&A. We're going to be live every Wednesday. So if you guys catch this recording, right, you're not catching me live, go ahead and type your comments, your questions that you have. I'll respond to them. Right? I may catch them in the next live and respond to them in the next live as well, or I'll just reach out to you and answer those questions as they come in. So this is every Wednesday to add value to you guys, and I'm folded up like folding my arms because it's freezing in my office because I didn't turn on the heat because I'm cheap, and I went and turned up the heat because I can't take it anymore. Anyways, Q&A. So go ahead and bring your questions when it comes to real estate investing, real estate wholesaling. What are the things that you guys want to know? We have any questions coming in? We're live in a bunch of different platforms. So
Syria from California.
Yes, let us know where you guys are coming from. If you're joining us live, where are you guys coming from? And I know we're live on a couple different Facebook groups. We're live on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, a couple TikTok accounts. We've got... Where are we? How many different platforms are we live on? Seven? Seven? Social media is so crazy. Yeah. Anyway, so any questions you guys have, I'll answer to some of the most common questions that I get very often in the different platforms. Number one question everyone asks is like, okay, if I find a discounted house, who do I sell it to? How do I find a buyer? Right? That's very simple. That's your flippers. That's your buy and hold investors. And how do you find those people? Well, you can Google sell my house fast. A lot of those are just wholesalers themselves, but you can do it that way. You can also, so we got jets going over. You can also go to the Facebook groups, real estate investors, Facebook groups in your city or your state. Google that and then just search. In every Facebook group, you can search terms, key terms. Just search the key terms: buyer, wholesale, deal, opportunity, cash, email. Search the @ sign for the emails and go and search through all the times that people had commented or typed those. There'll be people that posted wholesale deals and then buyers that chimed in the comments. Those are your buyers. So that's probably one of the fastest way to build a large buyers list. But having a buyers list is so important. And then also, depending on your state, you can post your wholesale deals on the MLS or on Facebook groups. Some states you can't. If I did that in Utah, they'd hang me by a tree. I'd have a $10,000 fine as fast as I could do it. But in states like Florida, it's possible to post your wholesale deals on the MLS. There's different ways to find buyers as well. So anyways, what questions you guys have? We have questions coming in.
We have Rodriguez saying watching 40K 40-day challenge.
Oh, yeah, sweet. I'm glad you're watching the 40-day challenge. If you guys don't know what that is, I flew across the country and I'd never been to Tampa, Florida at the time. And the goal was to take $1,000 for marketing and turn it into over the average American income, over 40 grand in just 40 days. Spoiler alert. I keep saying that wrong. Spoiler alert. I made $9 in that time frame and bought 2 rentals that I ended up selling for over $70,000 profit between the 2 of them. And that's not even counting the cash flow. So I made a lot of challenge, make me money. The whole point of it was to show you guys what it takes, the work ethics that's required to be a wholesaler. You can see that I'm no one special, that I have the work ethic and the steps and the process to make it happen. And that 40-day challenge is all about giving that. There's 2 ways you could get access to the 40-day challenge. If you guys want to get the 40-day challenge course, that is the outline with the PDF of the action steps that you guys will need to follow. Right now, it's only like $37. So if you guys want that, just type course. If you guys want the course, just type course and I'll send you the link to buy the course. It's also free to watch the full challenge in YouTube. You don't get the outline and the PDF and all that stuff, but it's free. So if you want free, just comment free and I'll send you the link to get that playlist. Anyways, it's awesome. Okay, question. We have questions?
Prophecy here. What does it mean if a seller wants to do a lease option, and how do I structure that?
Seller wants to do a lease option, and how do I structure it? So what a lease option is it's a lease. You're renting the property, right? and you have another contract that says you have an option to buy it. So I've done a bunch of different lease options. This office space that I'm sitting in, I found someone that had it for rent. And I went to him and I said, I will rent it, but will you do an option for me to buy it from you as well? So he made me rent this place for 2 years before he'd give me a 1-year option, meaning I had to rent it from him for the agreed upon rent for 2 years. And then I had a 12-month period to exercise my option to buy the property. We had a set price and all that. I ended up buying this office space, using it for my company. We're going to be doing a big remodel. So a lease option is where you're renting it and you have an option to buy it. That option contract could be, you can't buy it immediately, or you can buy it now, between now and 12 months, or now and whenever, or you only can buy it between this time frame and this time frame. Usually to have that option contract, there's money that you have to put down on that option contract, and you agree to that with your the person that's basically selling you that property. There's a time and a place for it. I've sold a couple of my rentals that I bought on lease options. There's a lot of people that buy and hold properties, and if they sell them, they only sell them on option contracts because it brings people in, that helps them create cash flow and bring in a buyer that'll pay full retail and not have to pay a real estate agent. So it's a good way to rent out your property where people feel like they own the property as well. Hopefully that helps you understand. You can also assign lease options. I've heard it called sandwich lease options, meaning if you get a option or a rent with an option to buy, invest property, and he would buy that contract from you. Normally that investor though would want to have the lease say you can sublease it, meaning that if I'm renting that house from the owner, the contract has to say I can also lease it to someone else. Anyways, hopefully that makes sense. Any more questions?
How do you do your taxes with doing this?
So my taxes are really complicated at this point. I have multiple different companies, multiple different LLCs. I'm also working on estate planning now that I've built assets, where I want them to be protected. I want them to be set up for my family. If heaven forbid I pass away, and if my wife passes away too, how does it get passed to my children? So there's estate planning that also then mixes in with my tax planning. But if you're just going, okay, what's the best tax strategy with wholesaling, real estate wholesaling? That's mostly what I talk about and teach. That's where I find a house and pass it for a finder's fee. It's taxed the same as flipping houses. Taxes are different if you own rentals. If you own a house for over 20 or over 12 months, I think is what it is, you can depreciate it. It's not counted as earned income. It's different. It's counted as capital gains if you sell it after you've rented it. So there's different strategies, but for flippers and for wholesalers, your tax is regular income. So I didn't open an LLC until I had made over $100,000. I just was taxed as income to my own name, my own social security number, right? I ended up setting up an LLC that was taxed as an S corp. What that has allowed me to do is to pay myself a reasonable salary. I don't know what the heck that means, right? The IRS, very vague there, but a reasonable salary. And then the remainder that I pay myself, I can pay it as profits or a distribution from that ownership in that, which is taxed at a much lower rate. So hopefully that helps answer that question.
Is California a good place to wholesale?
Sure. There's some issues you're going to have with places like California, Seattle, Oregon, Utah, where I do most of my wholesaling, New Jersey, some of these areas where the median house price is so high, where houses are just so expensive in those areas. For example, you can go to places like Ohio and Indiana where houses are like $50,000 to $100,000 fixed up, right? Like a 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom investor special fixed up, they're worth $50,000 to $100,000, right? Places like California, places like Utah, that just doesn't exist. Like, for example, here in Utah, my fixer uppers fixed up are my fixer-uppers, lower income areas in Utah, 300,000 is the lowest you're going to get, right? And a lot of the stuff that we're doing, it's 400,000, 400 to 500,000. So with those markets where house prices are so much higher, your average deal size, the amounts of money you can make per deal is much higher. Because how do you do a $50 flip profit or a $50,000 wholesale profit when it's only worth $60,000 fixed up? There's just not enough space there to make any money. So the rule of thumb is your average wholesale fee should be at least 10% of. So if the value of the home's $400,000, your average deal should be 40 grand. My average wholesale deal in Utah is over $40,000, which is really cool. Keep in mind, that means my cost per deal is higher as well. So one of the reasons people think it's impossible or so hard to do deals where they currently live, like Californians and Washington and Oregon and Utah and some of these high inflated markets, is the cost per deal, the amount of hours dialing, how many addresses you have to market to increases in those higher inflated markets, because your cost per deal is also, or your cost per deal is higher, but your profits are bigger too. So give and take. Simple, easy peasy. Any more questions around the things that I shared? Anything that you guys want to understand? I also want to know where you guys are coming from. If you guys could chime in where you guys are coming from, what cities, what states you guys are in. Oh, Lubbock. Do you know, I had a couple students in Lubbock, Texas. Jared Frankham. Do you know Jared Frankham? I've coached Jared. Great guy. Jared Frankham's in Lubbock, Texas. He also speaks Portuguese like I do. He's a good guy. Loves the Brazilian culture like I do. Cool market. What else we got people chiming in from? And any questions you guys might have. I want to know where you guys are starting at in your journey. If I had the opportunity back in the day to ask questions, I'd ask, hey, this is where I'm at in my journey. What would be your advice? So tell me where you're at in your journey, and maybe I can give you some advice on that. Go ahead.
Oakland, California.
Oakland.
And OKC.
Uh-huh.
And then how much did you make after that third duplex from the 40K for the challenge coming from Florida?
The third duplex? So the duplex, did I do a duplex on the 40-day challenge? I didn't do a duplex. I did 3 single family homes, and you might be thinking the duplex was the day 4 of the challenge. So day 4 of the challenge, I got 3 contracts. They were all manufactured homes on land. One I wholesaled for 10 grand. The other 2 I kept as rentals. Those 2 rentals, I bought them with my own cash. Which I know may not be an option for you guys, which is fine. I could have wholesaled them, but I didn't want to make 10 to 15 grand per property when long-term I could make almost $80,000 in total between the 2 of them, which is what I did. So I got a little greedy and used my own cash in place of just doing the challenge. I don't know. I couldn't give up that much money just for content's sake. And then the next deal after that, I ended up having 2 contracts I had to cancel, but the next 2 brothers that inherited a property. The next one is an older lady that had a property that was her personal property, had to help her transition. We made $53,000 on that one. That was our biggest wholesale deal. It was a good one. Yep.
Yeah, he just confirmed that day 4. And then there's a question here. Is it likely to get your first wholesale deal in a month?
So if you have the right steps, it is possible to do it in a month. Yeah. So my fastest students, 30 days to 35 days. That's as fast as I can coach someone, right? I was comfortably able to do that in the 40-day challenge. Why? Well, I've done hundreds of deals. I know how to negotiate. I know how to build a buyer's list in a few hours. I know exactly what my expectations are for the title company, all the foundational work to do wholesaling, title company, cash buyer's list, knowing where your deals are done, knowing the wholesalers in your market, evaluating deals, getting access to either the MLS or Zillow or whatever you need to comp properties. All that stuff I was able to do in a matter of a couple hours because of my experience, right? So that's the first step. My slower students, it takes the the foundational pieces, it takes like 2-3 weeks, right? My faster students do it in a day or two. And then from there, doing your marketing, finding a seller may only take a week or two if you're working your butt off, right? So fastest students do it in about 30 to 35 days. My slower students take about 4 to 5 months. On average, it takes me about 3 months to get someone across the finish line. So that's with working at least 15 hours a week, right? And having $500 a month to spend on marketing. Because that's the other thing. If you don't spend any money on marketing, how are you going to find sellers, right? And if you don't know how to spend that money on marketing, it may just be money, gone to the wind. So it's one of the reasons you get a good mentor. And I'm not saying that because I mentor. You're probably like, oh, well, you're just trying to sign people up. If that's what you think, go find a different mentor. Get a good mentor. Filter is this. Make sure that you trust that person, right? That you would enjoy having a cup of coffee. If you get the vibe that he's shady, he probably is, right? We have some intuition. So make sure you like the person. Next, make sure that he's doing what you're trying to do. Not someone that used to do wholesaling or kind of understands it. And then the other thing is make sure that person's actually getting results for other people as well. Make sure he actually is changing people's lives, because it's one thing to do it. It's another thing to teach it. So make sure.
Okay, I have one here.
Yeah.
Aram was looking to start out in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
Got any good recommendation for networking and finding buyers?
Yeah.
Or starting out?
One of my most successful students is in that market. In her first year, Jessamy McVeigh is her name. Jessamy, Jesseme, McVeigh, MCVEY. She's on Facebook a lot. They chime in from Facebook.
This is
TikTok. So I know she's active on Facebook if you want to reach out to her. In her first year, she made over $500,000 wholesaling with me. So she had a couple rentals. She had some experience. She was full-time. She is a mom though. So she has a lot of work to do being a mom. But she was able to make over $500,000 wholesaling. She's awesome. Reach out to her. There's great Facebook groups I do know in that market as well. You can reach out to lots of different people. Hopefully that helps.
I have Trevor Gilbert. I'm in Knoxville. Have done a few wholesale deals, mostly through agent outreach.
Mm-hmm.
Just started driving for dollars as well, and look to market using direct mail.
Beautiful.
Expect to spend before getting into it.
Yeah. So when it comes to your driving for dollars list, there's what you want to understand. There's subsections of your driving for dollars list that are most effective, right? When you drive around, you're going to find certain houses that are obvious vacant, obvious problems going on. Make sure you tag those, add those to a special list. We call that our turd list. Sorry, it's a little vulgar, but those are ones that get extra effort. Those get handwritten letters, those get door knocked, those get extra efforts on texting and calling. We want to get a hold of those people. We want a no or a yes from those people. It's our highest ROI subsection of our list. Then there's the second most valuable subsection of our list is the absentee owner section of our list. And then the next one is the owner occupied, and then corporate. And partly because the corporate list, it's hard to get accurate phone numbers for the owner of that LLC or trust. So it's a little bit tougher, right? So keep in mind though, with that, the way we were able to subsection off that list is we use an app called Deal Machine. If you're not using Deal Machine, I'm live in the Deal Machine community Facebook group as well. That app has allowed us to master driving for dollars and scale it and make over $1 million a year using it. When you pull that list on Deal Machine, it's going to upload it in an Excel spreadsheet. You can export that list, and one of the columns is ownership type. And you'll be able to subsection that list off into those different sections, spend more effort on the most important ones. And if you watch the 40-day challenge, you'll see I spend extra time and effort on absentee and worst of the worst properties first. And once I've dialed through that every morning and every evening, then I would go to the owner occupieds. Most of the deals I did on the 40-day challenge, all of them except for one was absentee owner. So keep that in mind.
Is REIA a good way to find cash buyers or flippers in your area?
REIA, Real Estate Investors Association groups. Guys, if you don't know what those are, Google REIA groups near me. And that's going to find your real estate investors association groups in your city, your meetups. You may get a free entry for the first time. They may charge after that. I've gone to a couple of them. They're usually just a bunch of people that want to get into real estate that aren't doing anything. Most of your super active guys aren't there. You can find some good ones. I would suggest going, if you're trying to network and find actual investors, go to auction.com and find out when your local county courthouse auction step auctions are happening in your area. Every county has a county courthouse where they auction off the foreclosures and tax foreclosure properties in your city. And they'll give you, and auction.com will show you the dates and the location of the next auction. So they'll show the upcoming. Sometimes the house doesn't go to foreclosure, so it doesn't happen. So check it a day or two before so you don't show up and no one's there. I've done that before. When you show up early and network, get to know those people. See who's making offers, see who's just standing around and watching, but see who's holding up their hand and making cash offers. Those are some of your best buyers. My first wholesale deal I ever did made 10 grand. That's how I found the buyer. And he was the only one that made me an offer. He was a motivated buyer. He had a tax purposes. He wanted to move his money at a 1031 tax exchange. So I felt like that was better networking and better value than the RIA groups I've been to.
Super Sully is asking, what about foreclosures?
Yeah, so foreclosures at the auctions, to me, once they've gone to foreclosure and they go to these open websites where people can go to those auctions and bid on them and that kind of stuff, to me, it's too late. It's kind of like when a property's already listed on the MLS, it's too late. I don't want to deal with those. I want to do direct to seller marketing. So pre-foreclosure, great. I market to those. That's fine. They might be willing to sell as is, but I want to go direct to seller, because when I find someone that wants to sell, then I go, okay, we found a seller. What two buckets do they fit in? Do they want to sell it for as much as possible and deal with the headaches and sell with an agent? Or do they want an investor and, lack of hassle, even if it's a little less money? Once we put them in those two buckets, then we send them to my sales guys for whatever branch. So I have real estate agents that I've networked with that run my retail stuff. I think we have 6 or 7 retail deals that I've generated that are cashing out in the next 2 weeks, right? I should have over $30,000 coming to me just from my portion of the retail deals that we've generated for my wholesaling company. So that's what I prefer to do, is direct to seller marketing and not the direct to agent marketing or on the MLS lowballing or the auctions. Whether they're tax auctions or tax deeds or any of that crap. It's really hard to have a very systematic, guaranteed approach to generate deals. You're at the mercies of the opportunities available. So
Connie Perez is asking, can you promote houses you don't have under contract to find a buyer before they even sign the contract?
No, most definitely not. To list a house for sale that you don't have under contract. Well, here, let's say it this way. To market a house for sale, you have to have equitable interest in the property with the rights to find a buyer, or you have to have a listing agreement and be a licensed agent or broker, or an agent under a broker's license, right? So if an agent wants to list a house for sale, he has to have a signed listing agreement with that seller. You can't just be like, oh, this is my friend, we're best friends, or this is my aunt or my mom, and list their house for sale with your name on the contact information on a local free Craigslist listing or on a Facebook group. You will get hit with a fine from the Division of Real Estate for brokeraging a property that you don't have any rights to. You can market to find a buyer for a deal where you have a contract that is assignable, because you're selling your contract. You are not selling the house, right? Wholesaling is you're selling your purchase contract. You're not selling the house. It's a bit of a loophole, I guess, right? Is what it is. So, yeah, hopefully that answered the question. But yeah, you're going to get in trouble if you do that.
Also, what would you do in the situation that a seller doesn't want any contingencies or inspection period and then they
Yep.
close.
10-day close. Okay. Y'all that didn't hear that, the question is, the seller wants to sell, but the seller doesn't want to have any inspection periods, meaning you can buy my house. We want this thing closed and gone in 10 days. The money that you put down as the buyer to make the contract binding is called earnest money. So let's say the seller wants $5,000 in earnest money and you have 10 days of close, no contingencies. What that means is when you sign that contract within 24 hours as the buyer, you're responsible to put $5,000 to the title company that will be held in an escrow account. And that money is gone. It's gone. If you can't find a buyer, you will lose it. So in my situation, I can afford to lose $5,000. If you can't afford to lose $5,000, or if you don't have $5,000, how do you handle this situation? What you do is you say, okay, I can do that. I've done deals where I had no idea what the house was worth, and we closed within 24 hours with $10,000 non-refundable earnest money that we gave the seller. Crazy, right? The way I did this in the beginning, when I had a seller that didn't want to get jerked around and was smart, but was willing to sell it at a discount and was motivated, I called up some of my best flippers that I knew were doing multiple deals a month. And I said, I have this deal. It's in this city. Are you interested in a deal in that city? And sorry, my oldest brother just walked in. I think he's dropping off some of my stuff. Anyways, what I did is I called up that investor and I said, come to the inspection or come to the appointment with me and inspect the property, because this is the wants of the seller, right? And what we did is he said, okay, I'll come. I'll know that I have to put $10,000 non-refundable. I'll come walk with you. And then I'll say, hey, Mr. Seller, let me stand over here and talk to my partner and figure out what our lowest number is, and I'll come back and speak with you. And then I had my buyer leave, and then I went and sat down with the seller and signed the contract for less than the verbal offer I already got from that buyer, right? A lot of times they're your best deals because you don't have a lot of competition, because not a lot of people have the ability or understanding how to do that. So that's how I handled it in the beginning. Now I just put non-refundable and I just know my numbers. But in the beginning, that's a huge risk that you probably can't take. Beautiful. Okay. Should we end it? Okay, everyone, if there's more questions that y'all have, go ahead and comment below with your questions, and we'll chime in. And as I said before, if you guys want access to the 40-day challenge course, which gives you the action steps, the PDF action steps that you'll have to complete to do the 40-day challenge with all the videos, it's $37 if you want it that way. It's free also on YouTube with just the videos. So if you're interested in the free version and don't know where to find it, we'll just comment free on this live and I will send it to you. And if you want the $37, just put 40-day course, just type 40-day course and we'll send you the link to get the course. So everyone, thank you so much. And we'll see you on Monday. We're going to be live on Monday. We're live on Wednesday at the same time, every Monday and Wednesday.